Vladimir Putin's army is in disarray. His forces are on the verge of a total collapse. In a few days, Ukraine has retaken more than 3,000 square kilometers of land. They had lured the Russians into a trap, tricked everyone, even me. Because of all the talk of the impending Kherson counteroffensive, Moscow quickly began pulling soldiers away from the Kharkiv and Donbass regions and sending them to southern Ukraine and Kherson instead. And as the Ukrainians successfully began pushing towards Kherson, none but them knew what was about to happen. What we have been witnessing over the past few days is the complete westernization of the Ukrainian army, a modern-day blitzkrieg. In several locations in the Kharkiv region, the Ukrainians began pushing deep into Russian-held territory. I'm talking 40, 50, 60 kilometers, giving Vladimir Putin's troops only two options: become completely encircled or run away. Most of them chose the latter.
Там двое пидоров. Вот я валю, я его. Давай. Вот я их добиваю, блядей. Ну шо, сука?
It is almost a replica of what the Germans did when they invaded the Soviet Union back in 1941, on a smaller scale of course. This means that at this point, the entire Kharkiv region has been liberated. The Ukrainians have chased the Russians all the way to the border. Vladimir Putin's soldiers have actually had to retreat so quickly that they have left almost everything behind. Tons of ammunition, small arms, APCs, tanks and howitzers. Equipment that the Ukrainians know all too well how to use. The sets will be painted over and everything will be put to good use by the Ukrainian army. And right now, the Ukrainians are in full control over the war. The southern offensive is also going extremely well, though not with the same speed as up north. Unconfirmed sources are even stating that Russian forces on the western side of the Dnipro River has been cut off. Hopefully, we will see the total liberation of Kherson in the near future. In the many towns and villages that has already been liberated during the past few days, the inhabitants can once again breathe in freedom. Many are in a state of euphoric relief. People are coming out of their houses and apartments, kissing and hugging the liberating soldiers. They have been living under a cruel, repressive and lawless regime for many months. One thing we have to understand is what happened in places such as Bucha and Irpin during the first months of war. That wasn't one-off incidents. The brutality and abuse of civilians has been systematic in all Russian-occupied areas of Ukraine. The only reason we know what happened there is because the Ukrainian army already liberated those areas. The first video I made on my channel was about the Bucha massacre, and in that video I said that my fear was that once the Ukrainians liberated more territory, they would find many more butcher-like massacres. This is what is happening right now. In the now liberated Kharkiv region, bodies buried by Kremlin forces are being dug up to be examined. Just within a few days, evidence has been gathered for more than 1,000 new war crimes cases. The way in which the Russian army has treated Ukrainian civilians is nothing short of barbaric. They have ruled with terror and fear. In the Kharkiv region, for the most part, that is over.
Oh shit. Yeah.
Fuck Russia. Fuck you. Yeah.
I'm saying for the most part, because every time the Ukrainians are successful, the Russians lash out on innocent civilians. This time they have been targeting critical civilian infrastructure, such as the water supply and power plants. A Russian missile hit a major Kharkiv power grid, engulfing it in flames. Tens of thousands of people were left without electricity. Some became trapped in the metro and in elevators. Again, terrorism. It won't break the Ukrainian people. In fact, since the counterstrike began, the Ukrainian morale is at an all-time high. The same cannot be said about the Russians. Their morale must be very near zero. They are being pushed back on all fronts, upwards of 20 kilometers per day. The question now is, what will Vladimir Putin do now? What will be his next step? People like Putin, once they are all in, they can't go back. And Vladimir Putin has definitely gone all in. He has risked his entire legacy on what happens in Ukraine. There's absolutely no way that he will sue for peace and or call his troops home. Every Ukrainian victory brings him closer to his ultimate downfall. He knows that the only way to stay in power is to win the war, but he is under enormous pressure and running out of options. The Russian army in Ukraine moves towards defeat. There's basically only one thing Vladimir Putin can do, and I think it's very possible that he will do it soon. Call in the reserves. The thing is, and this is a big problem for Putin, to call in the reserves means that he will have to formally declare war on Ukraine, and by doing that, he would basically admit that everything he and his government has said about what is going on in Ukraine has been one big, ugly lie. Remember, the Russians are still jailing people who dare to call their so-called special military operation a war. By calling in the reserves, he would totally shatter the entire picture he has been painting about the Russian military. He would be admitting that his army is in very deep trouble. It would be like admitting defeat. However, it is very possibly his only option, even if it might end up being detrimental to his position as president of the Russian Federation. I think no matter what, the war in Ukraine will end up being the end of Vladimir Putin, one way or another. If Vladimir Putin chooses to formally declare war on Ukraine and call in the reserves, it would only prolong the way to his ultimate demise, making the way there longer and much bloodier. Fortunately, I heard the Ukrainian army happened to come by stockpiles upon stockpiles of unattended Russian ammunition. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like the video, leave a comment and subscribe to my channel. I'm planning to have my next couple of videos go more in detail about what actually happened during the Ukrainian counteroffensive during the last couple of days. I hope you will be watching.